Welcome to Nina's Kitchen. Today I'm going to be making baked cheesy breadsticks. They take about 2 hours to make. This recipe will make between 15 and 20 breadsticks, and they're a lot of fun to make. The kids love them, the family loves them, and I hope you enjoy this recipe. And I dedicate this recipe to Alicia. The flour and salt are put together into the bowl, and then we add the yeast with the water that's already been activated and the oil. We're going to mix those ingredients together really well, and then once we have formed a dough, we are going to flip that dough, turn that dough over onto our floured, sterilized work counter. We're going to knead it for about 4 or 5 minutes. What we're looking for is an elasticy dough that we can work with. This is the consistency that we're looking for. I always keep warm water with a tablespoon in it and some flour for when I work with my dough until I get this consistency while I'm kneading it. I'm looking for this. I want a dough that does spring back when you poke it. And from here, we're gonna take this dough, we're gonna put it in our bowl. I'm gonna add a couple tablespoons or a tablespoon of any oil to it. The bowl that we just turned our dough out of. We're gonna take our dough into this bowl. We're gonna just move this oil around, put our dough ball in here, and we're gonna flip it over until the dough ball has the oil all over it. Move this oil around here. I'm gonna cover this with cellophane, plastic wrap, and a towel, and I'm gonna leave it for about an hour to 2 hours while it rises. So I have my dough that's been sitting here, and it's been about 2 hours. I have a lot of experience working with doughs, and it's important to know that you have no control over these things when you're working with yeast, and when you're making something, your times, I find it's very important for me. I like to make sure my yeast is activated, but when it takes a little longer to rise, or if it's a little slower, that can happen. And also your consistencies of what you need to add. Needing to add more liquid or needing to add more flour to get the right consistency. You have different humidities in different parts of the world, and you will require more flour or more liquid to get the right consistency. So I say that so that you're aware that you need to make adjustments but you'll learn as you go. You'll know what this needs to feel like, and you will make your adjustments as you make the recipe over and over. Once we punch this dough down, I walk away for about 10 minutes. I preheat my oven to 400 degrees, and that is ready. I will flour my work area, my clean work area. I tidy up my dishes. And I turn this dough over, and I'm gonna work with this dough. I'm gonna make 2 trays of cheese sticks with this. So first I'm gonna work with the dough and incorporate the cheese in right now. I do also grate some cheese on top partway through the bake, but that's optional. You don't have to do that. So right now I'm just gonna work with this. I will break it in half right now, divide it in half. I'll work with this for now. This helps me with my sizing to know how much I should roll them out. my dough rolled out into a rectangular shape. I have my tray ready to go here. I have greased it and I'm gonna lightly flour it. I don't have any parchment paper. I would have used that instead, but I don't have any, so we're gonna do this. What I like to do with this is I like to take lightly, either a little bit of oil, and just lightly put some oil on the top of this once I've got this out like this, rolled out. And I like to add my grated cheese. And I pat it in. It's gonna rise when we put it in the oven. Now this is gonna be my, the bottom side of my cheese sticks. I really like the cheese baked on the bottom, and the cheese on top, I don't actually put that on until the last part. And the reason I do that is because I don't want my cheese to, I want the cheese to be not too well done. And everyone likes it a certain way, but that's what I like to do. So I like to, instead of putting the cheese all the way through my dough, I bake it on the bottom and I bake it on the top. So once I have it to this shape here like this, nice and rectangular, similar to my tray, I like to have it close to the size of my tray. They're gonna grow a little bit. They're gonna expand somewhat in the oven. And once they expand them, I like them to be almost touching and maybe even touching because I like the cheese to be in between. So I take this now and I turn this upside down. So all my cheese is on the bottom. And then I will lay my dough right next to my tray to see the size I need to make. I will use my cutter here to cut it into probably 10 pieces. I'll cut it into, and I'll put that on that tray. Once I have the one tray good to go, I do fill a little bit of cheese in the holes in between. And then I do my second tray, and they go into the oven at 400 degrees for about 15 minutes. While those cheesy breadsticks are in the oven, I'm gonna get my cheese ready to go on top. So the last 5 to 10 minutes, depending on how well you like your cheese to be done. Once they come out, we put it back in, and depending on whether you like it crunchier or whether you like it chewier with that cheese. And you don't have to do this part at all. You can add Parmesan cheese. I put Parmesan cheese probably in before on top, before they go into the oven at all. Our second batch of cheese sticks, you could have made those cinnamon sticks if you wanted to. You could add cinnamon and sugar. You could make a simple syrup for them if you wanted to, or a cream cheese, a cheesy kind of icing, some kind of icing for them. There's many things you can do with dough. There's no exact rules for dough when you're working with yeast, when you're working with flour, and when you're working, you will need to make adjustments, and that's something that will come with experience. This recipe is one of my favorite ones to do, to make at home. I don't think it ever comes out the same way twice. I've added garlic at times. I've made garlic cheese bread with this same kind of recipe. And it's so much fun. The children love it, the family love it, your guests love it. Take it to the office. There's so many things you can do with this. Working with dough really isn't that scary. If you want to be more foolproof, I would recommend activating your yeast before you add it to your ingredients. It's something that I usually will do. Very rarely will I use a yeast other than one that I actually activate. I will see that it has foamed, that it is responding the way it should before I add it to my ingredients, because you don't want to waste your product, and you can start over again with that yeast if something went wrong. If your water wasn't the right temperature, whatever could have gone wrong, something could have gone wrong. More than likely it's your water temperature, or the yeast itself could just be bad, or too old. So that's what you want to do. You want to probably work with active dry yeast in the beginning. It's a habit that I just stayed in, and it's time to take these out. Closing that oven again, and I am the cheese that I grated. This is an additional step. Like I said, you can do this or not do this. It's up to you. Some people may want to just put this cheese on right now and say, that's it, I'm done. Some people may want to put some butter on, some garlic. There's many things you can do. You could even have some marinara sauce waiting for these. There's so many possibilities. But we just get the cheese on here and I put them back in the oven for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It depends how they're looking. I just keep a close eye on them. I turn the light on and I keep a close eye on them. So we're gonna take them out now, and there goes our timer. And if you take a look, these are exactly how I want them. That's how well I like them to be done. They could have been taken out sooner, and you could also leave them longer, but that is how I like them to be done. I do take my scraper and I go along to separate the cheese right now, because I worry that they might all stick together and not come apart too well. So because I put a lot of cheese on here, that's what I'm going to do. Thank you for joining us. And this is my cheesy bread stick recipe. And I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you subscribe and like my YouTube channel, and so that you can see more of my recipes that I'll be posting frequently. We'll see you again.